Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the She Runs Strong podcast, powered by Coach Perry with Shona and Nicky. We are into a bunch of questions again today. We've got a whole bunch of questions from from our listeners and from people in the Coach Perry platform. So, really looking forward to diving into those. As always, I'm joined here with my co-host and colleague Nicky. How are you doing today, Nicky?
Oh yeah, I am good today. I'm looking forward to this Q&A episode. This year though, blimey heck, it's flying by, and I
Oh
can't
my
believe
gosh.
where we're at now. How are you doing? And I mean, talking of flying by years, how's your goals and how's your training going? And what have you been
Yeah.
up to?
Good. Good. I mean, nice to have some consistency. Really, really, focusing on strength, consistency. I love strength work, so that's easy. I know that's a gift to have if you're a
Yeah,
runner. But yeah, I mean, I have a couple of goals for the year. I've got Two Oceans as Two Oceans Ultra. It'll be my sixth. I'm dying to get to 10 of those. And then I've entered Valencia Marathon as well, and so that's exciting. And then, yeah, there's some pipe dreams of things I have, which I'm not going to mention and put out to the universe just yet. They'll come soon. Yeah.
Don't want to put
Um,
yourself on the line there, huh?
not just yet. It'll come in time. Come in time. Yeah. And yourself, Nikki, training, all right?
Training's getting there. It was definitely a slow start to the year this year with illnesses and bugs, so I'm just slowly eking along. There's
Good.
no actual goals for me. I have Valencia too signed up for, but that's,
Yes.
gosh, hopefully way in the distance at this particular point, although this year is fairly flying by. But
Yep.
yeah, so
Yep.
nothing really for me on the cards. I just want to get that bit of fitness and consistency back
Consistency.
after quite a rocky Christmas and New Year, January.
Yep.
Um,
Excellent. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely good goals to have. Consistency is still like, yeah, really, really good
yeah,
goals to have. But
get into the swing, but that's exciting with Two Oceans. I mean, that's how many did you say that you've
this will be number 6.
number 6?
So, yeah,
You get something
and
special when you get to number 10. Is it like Comrades? Do you get
it's your
a
blue,
green
yeah, you
card?
get it what so Comrades is your green number, Oceans is a
Uh-huh.
blue number, and then that is your
Yep,
number. So,
blue
we said
number.
I'd do 10, but then, you also have to kinda do 1 race in your blue number.
Blue
So,
number,
hopefully
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, my training partner and I wanna do our 10th together. She's 1
Right.
or 2 behind me, so that does mean that I have to, at some point, perhaps qualify for Boston so that I land up missing an Ocean so she can catch up 1,
Okay.
and then we can run our 10s together. So, yeah, but yeah, so that's a beautiful race. Two Oceans is, I mean, it is the world's most beautiful race. It definitely. You've driven that route before, so you know.
Yeah, well, so when I was in Cape Town just a while back with Brad, he took me round and up Chapman's Peak, is it?
Chapman's
And
Peak, yeah, and then all the way up Constantia Neck, which is the big climb.
tough,
Yeah, yeah,
tough route,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
So I don't envy that. I mean, I'm not an ultra runner. I don't really want to. I mean, I have run ultras, but you know, I'm not envying you on that. I would come and
Uh,
support.
Yeah, but I think one day, Nikki, we'll get you to Cameron Oceans. It's beautiful. So, but yes, let's dive straight in because you and I can sit and talk about beautiful races and destination races all day long. Nikki, the first question is from Melissa. Melissa is from Ohio in the USA. She says, "Do I still need the same nutritional hydration when it's cold outside? I just find I'm not as thirsty, and surely a hearty breakfast will just cover my long run before the run." What are your thoughts? You live in a cold country, so what are your thoughts on
Yes.
that?
So that's that's a really interesting question, and it is definitely something, when you go out and run 60, 90 minutes and it's cool, you don't feel like you need to drink, and you don't really feel like you need to eat. And she's right with the hearty breakfast, but there's 2 reasons why really you should be looking at fueling and hydration. Firstly, fueling your running, just your actual run, that session, that day, especially if it's over 60 minutes, definitely if it's over 90 minutes, you want to be fueling your run. And so that's your first go to. And then your
Mm,
second go to is you're looking for recovery, because running isn't just about that one workout. It's about building those blocks we talk about all the time for your house, and building that strong, big aerobic system, and week in, week out, your run
mm,
sessions. So if you're fueling well during your run, you're going to help your recovery afterwards as well. So, and you're just not going to get that massive dip, especially for females. It's something that's quite important for us to keep our bodies balanced. Okay. So, yes, you need to fuel for your run and you need to fuel for your recovery afterwards. And those are your two focuses. And certainly over 60 minutes, you probably don't need that much on a 60-minute over to 90 minutes. But with 90 minutes, you want to be really sort of considering that a little bit more going forwards. And I would argue that a lot of women don't have a hearty breakfast before their
Or
long.
a breakfast, let alone a hearty one.
Yes, I think a lot of women fall into the trap of a banana or a slice of toast, which really isn't enough as well. So,
Yeah.
so really getting a bit of fueling in is going to be key. And then,
Yeah.
of course, fueling afterwards as well. But that's
Yeah.
another topic almost in itself. So,
Um,
what about
Nikki, I
yourself?
mean,
What's your thoughts?
I would also argue, perhaps put this forward. I mean, my brain is just thinking, I don't live in a cold environment, and we can also talk about hot environments just after this. But I would argue that if the temperatures are really cold, right, and I mean, what's that? Maybe below 3 degrees Celsius. Gosh, I apologize. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Probably 40, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That you would actually need a little bit more fuel because your body would be working slightly harder just to keep your organs and everything at normal core temperature. I don't think that needs to be a dramatic amount more, but if you're not fueling at all, I definitely think that would be a concern.
I think that's a really good point. That's the thing I really struggle with in the UK in winter times is very quickly after a run. I mean, at the start of a run, it can take me a good 20 minutes to even find a balance of warmth.
Mm,
I can feel very, very cold. So to build that internal heat in your body. And then as soon as you finish, you can get very cold very quickly. So having that fuel, I quite often take a flask of a hot drink and
mm,
something like a flapjack with me because I do find having some warm food is good. So I think that's a
yeah,
really valid point and one I'd not really thought about. I'd just done just because I always do to try and keep warm. But definitely, if you're cold right through into your bones, then that's going to be tiring for your system to get internally warm again.
again, yeah.
So
Yeah, and then Nikki, just in terms of balancing a diet, you did mention it, but body's being balanced throughout the day, but ensuring that you're getting enough nutrition throughout the day, right? So that we're
yeah,
focusing on that recovery and not constantly depleting and finding ourselves in a low energy availability.
so my nutritionist pal pointed this out to me actually was because I can quite often snack quite a lot in the evenings. And I was saying, yeah, but I'm just really hungry in the evenings. And she was saying, but that's because you're not having a decent breakfast and fueling your runs. And
Yeah.
because you're not having that bigger breakfast and fueling your runs, and yes, you're having a lunch or brunch afterwards, but then you've left a little hole in your system.
Mhm.
So, and that catches up with you in the evening, and then you suddenly want to eat all the food. So then the crisps come out and the chocolate comes out. So actually, if you want to keep that nice body balance,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Fuel throughout the day. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then just lastly, let me just mention for those of us who live in hot temperatures. So we're, obviously we'll be going into winter, so that's an important question for us going into winter. But for you guys coming out of winter, going into summer, if it is hot, my advice would be to not change your nutrition strategy. You still require the same nutrition strategy, like Nikki has mentioned, but in hot environments, you definitely will require extra hydration or extra water. Very often if you're taking in a gel or some sort of fueling and you're not getting enough water, can cause some nausea as well. So you want to make sure that you're getting in enough water in those times. And we still recommend drinking to thirst. So it's not like you must have 300 mils extra. You must drink to thirst. So as you are thirsty, to keep drinking to that. So not having a specific
yeah,
amount.
it's a completely
Yep.
different thing because I think in the cold, you're just not thirsty. So you almost have to remember to drink.
Remember to drink. Yeah.
And so you need to take that. Whereas I think in the hot, you're always going to feel slightly thirsty and want to drink, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas for us, you maybe just need to think about taking those sips of water all the time
Yes.
and it will just help fuel you afterwards.
Yeah,
There's also a bit
definitely.
of a follow-up question to that as well from
Hmm.
Heather from Melbourne. Oh gosh, it's quite small writing this. Looking for advice on fueling during long runs. Gels, chews, lollies, food, and also hydration drinks. Okay, so she's just looking for what is good for fueling during long runs.
During. So yeah, so we're speaking specifically for during the run now. So generally, guys, let's just start with this that as Nikki mentioned in the previous question, 60-minute runs, your breakfast really should suffice for that. So don't do these runs fasted. You should be having breakfast that will suffice for those first 60 minutes. But for runs that are 60 to 90 minutes and longer, we have to be looking to getting at least, guys, and this is the bare minimum of 30 grams of carbohydrates every hour, right? And so I actually went on a bit of a personal journey with this about 2 or 3 years back where I thought I was fine because the bar that I was eating, um, in the box of bars, so it came in 3 bars in the box, and I think it said something about like 60 grams of carbs, but that was for the whole box. And so I thought I was, and then when I actually read the back of that bar, it was only 16 grams of carbs, and I was having one of those an hour. That was it,
Right.
which is not enough. Changed my strategy, started to have one of those bars and 500 mils of a drink, which was about 20 grams. So that pushed me up to 36 grams of carbs for that hour, which is still probably enough, but I cannot tell you the difference it made to my long runs. I felt better. I didn't feel like I bonked as much. My rest of my day felt better as well. So for me, that's what I do. I tend to have a bar that's about 15 to 20 grams, and I sip on 500 mils of a juice throughout the hour. And then towards the end of a longer run and longer races, I will incorporate a gel. I struggle with gels generally.
Yeah,
So
me
my
too.
gels are the high five ISO gels, so they're quite soluble. But yes, I generally don't like a gel, so I don't use a lot of them. But yeah, Nikki, what about you? What is your kind of strategy for that?
Yeah, so I like jelly babies. So I quite like to chew on something if I can. And then actually I've got used to the Morton's gels as well, which have
Okay.
become a bit of a favorite for people recently, and they are quite expensive, so you have to use them fairly sparingly. But I do quite like the taste of Morton's. I do find over time, I mean, I've been running marathons for a long time now. We said in one of the other podcasts, it was 16 years or so. And I have found that you find some nutrition that you really like and you practice with it, you go through the marathon, and then you get sick of it and you have this
Mm,
fatigue with the gels almost. And so my recent go-to has been the Morton's gels, and I do quite
okay.
like those at the moment, and I seem to be tolerating them really nicely. And then I
Okay.
will take Jelly Babies. I will also use glucose tablets, which aren't always
Yes.
a favorite for some folks, and they can be quite dry, so you need to drink quite a bit with those. I will also, at the start, I will have a banana as well. I quite
Mm,
like to eat real
mm,
fruits. I will have a
me
banana.
too. Mm.
At I can tolerate those quite well in the first hour of a long run. As it gets on in a long run, like a 3-hour long run, I do struggle.
Yes.
I think a lot of people do, and we always say it's just practice. You just
Practice. Exactly.
so you can train your gut.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
definitely. Yeah. And I think, I also, your point is key. I oscillate between, I don't like too much liquid because that liquid is just in your stomach all the time, so I also like some whole foods as well. So in ultras, so like for Two Oceans, as an example, I'll have a sandwich en
all
route
right.
as well. That friends are there, which actually, funny story. My first Oceans, I love a peanut butter sandwich. I love it.
Oh, me
So
too.
friends were waiting down in Hart Bay for me. I was running with my ex and we both stopped. We have this peanut butter sandwich, but just know it's like you've been running for 4 hours or whatever
Mm.
it is now. And then the peanut butter was just stuck on the top of my palate. So I was just like, that is rookie error. So I've now learned to now just mix that with a little bit of honey or jam, which is also good. And then obviously it
Yes.
just smooths and goes down. I've also been playing around with some banana bread actually because I love banana
Yeah,
bread.
I love
So,
banana.
but yeah, so just maybe a couple of things, guys, like to give you an idea. 30 grams of carbs in a banana. That's one banana. It's 2 medium apples. It's a third of a cup of raisins. Nikki, you mentioned jelly babies. So you're looking at 6 jelly babies. So that's 6 jelly babies per hour that you would need to have. Trying to see what else you have. Energate or any kind of energy drink. You're looking at 420 mils for that hour. I love that Nikki DeVilliers, our nutritionist, put ice cream on this list. I don't think I'd be able to do ice cream. But then, mashed potatoes or potato, like very often at the races, there'll be guys holding like whole potatoes. So yeah, those are good as well. Bread rolls, 1 bread roll, white bread, 2 slices. So yeah, that just gives you a little bit of an idea. Nougat, 45 grams. I've actually tried nougat before. That works quite well. And then obviously your sports bars as well. So yeah, I think play around with this, figure out in your long runs what works for you. But very often I think from my experience, under fueling, even though you think you might be having enough.
Yeah. And I think that's it. As women, we're just always, it's just that diet culture, isn't it? We want to be lighter, but that's not the way to be lighter, is to eat well in your runs.
And it'll just change your training. Why would we not want to feel better in our training? Why do we want to punish ourselves in our training? So you're not getting any benefit from underfueling in your training.
No.
But yes, let's jump on to the next question. Those were 2 awesome nutrition questions. I know we've had a few questions or people asking for more nutrition work, so that's cool. This question comes from Kirsty in Dublin. I love Dublin, one of my favorite cities. And Kirsty says, I think I have a higher than normal heart rate. It just feels better to run slightly faster with a higher heart rate. Nikki, do you want? Yeah, let me kick this off maybe, because I know we get this question often. And yes,
often.
yeah, people and we're not. There could be cause for the fact that people have heart conditions and an ant. So none of what we're about to say isn't that. And of course, if you have concerns, please go to your physician. But first things first, I think it's absolutely key to recognize that the reliability of the data that you're reading is based on the devices that you're using and the quality of those and the reliability of those. So if you are measuring your heart rate with only your wrist-based watch, that is not the most reliable way. Yes, they can be generally reliable. I mean, Nikki, we see it in generally for easy runs. Yes, they can give you an idea. But if you want to really be training to heart rate, we have to have the gold standard, which is a chest strap, which is the most reliable. Just, touching on this, if you run in very cold environments, it's going to have unreliability. It has less reliability for persons of color. And for the most part, the gold standard is the chest strap. So we need to make sure that the data we're getting to read is reliable. So, Kirsty, that would be the first step, to make sure that that's not just physiologically a higher heart rate. That it is also, perhaps got to do with the data that you're reading.
It needs to be
Nikki,
measured.
measured. Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah.
It needs to be beside your heart, measuring your heart rate. Yeah, I mean, this question, I think my heart always sinks when people send me a WhatsApp or a message with this, and I'm like, okay, all right, okay. And I was like, you just do it. And we're dealing with women of 40s and 50s here. So, people have a set heart rate. When you're kids, when you're younger, the kids' heart rates run slightly high. And as you get older, they go a bit lower. There's no question on that. That's been proven. It's one of those things. And so if you're running with that higher heart rate, then there is a bit more of a cost to your body in terms of running. And if you are taking that heart rate down and you're measuring it accurately, and you're running a bit slower or easier, then the cost to your body is just less. So, we want to measure that correctly. But I mean, you've got a sports science background, and I'm sure you've studied all the max heart rates and stuff. Can you get, I mean, could there be an instant where you have a higher heart rate for your easy zone as a woman, a mature woman?
The thing about this, Nikki, is that this is it's relative to you, right? So yes, some person might have a higher heart rate response to another person. You might have a higher heart rate response to me. That could definitely happen. But It's all relative. We're measuring our zone 2 off either our threshold heart rate or our max heart rates, right? And
Yeah.
so if you have a higher zone 2, we're measuring that off your max or threshold heart rate. So it should always be specific and relative to you. And so it would require then that your threshold heart rate or your max heart rates are very high to then be allowing your zone 2 to be very high, because we're just taking that as a percentage of your own threshold or max. And I think that's often perhaps, sorry, where this goes wrong is that a lot of people also take their zone 2 based on the Garmin profile or the Strava profile, and they haven't worked it out specifically to their threshold test or time trial. So I think that's an important thing. But I think just one thing we need to understand, and my exercise physiology lecturer was an ex-colleague of mine as well, brilliant guy, and just he would just explain things so amazingly. And he just wanted us to start understanding that your heart rate is your internal measure of the output that you're doing. Okay. So yes, we look at heart rate and we want to train at a specific heart rate. But what we have to understand is that that run that you go and do does not dictate your heart rate. Your heart rate dictates the level or speed or pace of your activity. So if your heart rate is at the X and that's what your zone 2 is, and it says that you are walking, that is what your heart rate and your physiology is able to sustain at that point in time. It's not the other way around. It's not that we go, I need to work at 140 beats, and 140 beats means I'm in zone 2 and I'm running. It might mean that 140 beats means you are walking because you're not quite there at the level. And that's the goal of fitness, right? Is that in 6 weeks or 6 months' time, we want that 140 beats to be running at a faster pace. You want to be doing faster work at the same intensity or the same outputs, essentially. So I think that this is always an interesting topic. Of course, I think there are different cases where people, have heart conditions, and especially menopausal females, there are these concerns with cardiac and cardiovascular concerns. But for the most part, I find it as I don't want to say it as a lame excuse, but yes, as an it's a reason to run fast again. Yeah.
But I think when I see this, it's very often people who are coming in at heart rates of about 160, and zone 2. I mean, that would, I don't know what that would put their max heart rate as, but
yeah, I would have to work it out. But I mean, Nicky, as an example, I'm 40, and my zone 2 is somewhere between, and based on my threshold, but somewhere between 138 and 148. So it's so your zone 2 at 160 just doesn't quite feel, because that would put your heart rate well higher than 220. So yeah,
it's they very often come with these like really much higher, and we as coaches just kind of instinctively can look at those and just know, because there is a limit, and I don't know if I say the name Chrissy Wellington, she had a high max heart rate of 205, and that is a high heart rate. If you're having higher heart rates than that, you're probably being monitored by a heart consultant, surgeon. Yes, because there is a limit. We have a sort of ceiling to our physiology, and the simple fact is as a mature woman, we're more likely to be around the 130s, 140s for our zone 2, just on average, really. And so,
but I think, Nicky, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but maybe one of the things that we can look at here, because we've been quite critical of this, is I see what Kirsty's asking, and she said, it just feels better to run slightly faster.
Yeah.
And what Nicky said is, she's saying that feels great, but the cost to your body is going to be a little bit more, and it's going to affect your next session and your next session. So maybe one of the things you can try in your easy runs is to add a couple of walk breaks. They don't need to be long, right? They're 60 to 90 seconds at most. I promise you those 60 seconds go quickly, and it's not a stroll. You're giving it a good walk, and I promise you will take that load off in your easy and your long runs, and it will still feel great, because you're still going to be running, and you're just going to be more recovered for your next session. Because really here, we want you to be able to do your fast sessions faster. I don't want you to be running too fast in your easy runs. I want you to run those hard runs even harder. And that's where the benefit comes in, is that we don't want to be doing these at such a small capacity. We want to run your easy runs easier so that you can run your hard runs harder. And that's really the main goal. So we're not trying to take your fun away. We actually we're trying to get you to run your hard runs harder.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and it is about listening to your body a bit there and stuff, isn't it? So really just listening in and tuning into your body and then having fun when you get those sessions. And I like that. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Good. Right, there you go, Kirsty from Dublin. Cool. Okay, the next question, Stacey. We don't know where Stacey's from. She's just not put where
she didn't
she's
put
from.
it, but Stacey sent us one of these questions.
Probably
so
somewhere warm. Doesn't sound like a UK runner. She has asked, are barefoot runners an increase to injury for is barefoot running an increase to injury for older women running on soft surfaces? I don't think I've still phrased that quite right.
Yeah,
but
I think we get the
you know what I
gist.
mean. So she's asking, are we at risk as a mature
higher risk,
from injuries at barefoot running? So that's a bit of an old fad, isn't it? But what's your thoughts on that, Shona?
If you want to recover from sessions faster, not feel tired all the time, run pain and injury-free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join me in my upcoming training specifically for female runners over the age of 45. In it, I'll share with you my simple 5-step framework that'll transform your running. Simply scan the QR code on screen now or click on the link in the description to save your seats in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there. I mean, I'm for the most part not a fan of barefoot running. I'm not. And that's not to say that I don't think it can't be done. And if someone wants to transition to barefoot running, I've helped people transition to barefoot running. My brother's done it very, very well. But it took him 6 to 9 months to go from shoot, sometimes, but not as often. But then he also went on to run comrades and so on. So then he chose to wear shoes. But so again, it depends on what you're doing and what event you're aiming for. But he took 6 to 9 months to do that, right? So I don't have an issue for the most part. I prefer people to run in shoes, or shoed, like cushioned shoes. But yes, I think if you desperately want to go to barefoot running, I think it's really, really key that you do the full transition well. And it's a transition of running in your cushioned shoes, running a little bit in the barefoot shoes, and then slowly building and progressing one up versus the other. And on top of that, ensuring that you have really good strength and foot strength and lower limb strength as well. Nicky, and I mean, I just also, sorry, just to add on to that, and I'm keen to get your views as well. Just, as we're going through menopause, we at a higher risk of injury anyways. People can go back and listen to our chat with our colleague Kelly, Dr. Kelly Miller. That was an awesome chat. Go and find it in a previous podcast, guys. And we are at a higher risk of ligaments, muscle, and bone injuries. And so, I would just feel like you're putting yourself at even more risk. And so, if you want to do it, perhaps just really focus on some strength. But Nicky, your views on that as well?
So, it's an interesting one, barefoot. I don't feel like I've had that question, sort of questions around that in a long time. And I think that's probably in the advent of all the super shoes coming through. And the beauty of super shoes is that you can do a higher intensity session and it does help with recovery because they give so much cushioning and padding that just really helps. And so I think with the onset of super shoes, why wouldn't you just use those lovely supporting shoes and the good foam that I don't know the different types of foams some of the shoes, but they just really help your hips and your knee joints and even like the younger lads that I coach on track, they will wear these super shoes because the simple fact is they feel better the next day and it's just that little bit softer on your body. Running barefoot, I mean, if you're running trails, great. If you're running on a soft grass, great, but you can't get masses of distance on that. If you're running on tarmac, hard concrete ground, you're just, the impact. I don't like it. And, it's never been something for me particularly. And I think if you're right, if you are really keen and you are really have bought into the whole philosophy of why you should do it and stuff, you're right. You need the strength training and you need that slow transition. And it is you can't just do it in a few weeks. It's got to be for months and months, really. And
Nicky, I'm also not opposed to, and let me say this, so this is different to barefoot running, but I do believe that our feet need work and space and breathing ability and movements. Shoes, we live in shoes all the time, so our toes are all the time. And females, I don't know, I personally don't wear heels. Some females love heels and wear heels, which really change our foot dynamics as well. And so I'm a massive advocate for doing your strength training barefoot, walking around the house barefoot. So one, you're going to keep away a lot of the bacteria that you bring in from outside. Okay, that's my health OCD kick. But so making sure that we are working our feet barefoot, walking outside on the grass barefoot. Yes, I think our feet will respond so well to that. And over and above that, then I'm a massive advocate on doing what we call foot core. So making sure that we're getting our feet strong enough. And so part of that is sitting at home at night and getting a sock or something to interlace. They call them toe spreaders. You can buy it on Amazon. To get some movement in between our feet, to get some mobility at the bottom of our feet, and really to work on the small intrinsic muscles in our feet. And that's where the whole barefoot running thing came from. Is that the argument was that we're in shoes all the time, and that stops our intrinsic muscles from working, which it does. Which is why we're now suggesting, rather than barefoot running, let's do some exercises to focus on our feet and our core of our feet. And that's a massive part of what we do at Coach Parry with our strength training as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. And then wear the super shoes to go fast when you're racing.
Yeah, but again, so why not, wear the super shoes, because we don't advocate for super shoes to be worn all the time in training, because you could get injured. So wear your super shoes in your high intensity session, wear your cushioned shoes in your easy and your long runs. And then if you want to be barefoot, do barefoot running shoes, perhaps do that for hikes. But again, then there's always a risk of rocks and stones and things. So yes, I think, again, I would far rather advocate for doing some foot core rather than barefoot running.
That's certainly the way I do it. I walk around the house barefoot. I do, I like to use my feet. I do like to feel the ground, actually.
Yep.
And I like to sort of be in touch with the ground. But for me, I like a nice shoe that I can run in and feel comfortable and supports my running. So I find that's the best way to be. So
excellent.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, and then the last question here, Nicky, touching on with strength training. So I'm going to ask you this, and then I'll chime in later. The question here is: I already do a yoga and a Pilates class once a week each. Do I still need to do other strength training as well?
So my answer to that would be yes, you do. But yoga and Pilates are excellent forms of strength training. And if you're already in a consistent routine of doing that, please don't give up. Please keep going, because there's so much benefits. I'm a particular big fan of yoga as well. I feel that the whole breathing, calmness of it, the meditativeness of it as well, just has a whole host of benefits beyond even strength training. So I really love yoga for that. And yoga is often done barefoot as well. So I feel that you get that sort of those like little muscles working too, just going back to the last question. So I wouldn't give up those at all. If you enjoy them and you've been doing them, then do keep doing them. But it is really important as runners, as mature females through menopause and peri, that you do some good strength work in the gym and you lift heavier weights. You can progress into it, so start with body weight, but definitely I would still be adding on 1 to 2 strength sessions a week. It just to complement the running, to complement the yoga, but also just to stop that lean muscle, because yoga just doesn't load you enough to build. You're not necessarily going to build masses of muscle, but to hold on to that lean muscle that you want and to create that bone health. So I would definitely be wanting to get you into a gym and lifting some weights, which I know you're just waiting to pipe in there, Shona. So,
No, I was just about to say, Nicky, you've covered all of that, so that's perfect. The only thing I will add, because you've hit all of that to the T, okay, and I sound like a broken record, so I'm glad someone else is saying it for a change. The only thing I will add is I actually read a very interesting study this last weekend, and it's mean, it seems obvious, but it's always nice when science backs these thoughts up.
Yes,
And the
definitely.
point was that people who work with an instructor will improve strength and lean muscle mass far more than people who don't. So there are two groups of resistance. So these people were already well-trained people. One
Okay.
group trained with an instructor and the other group didn't. And the group that trained with the instructor improved their strength and their total lean muscle mass even more than the group who didn't. And so that's really key. I think that's important. And so if you are already doing yoga and Pilates with an instructor, I think, yes, continue it, because I still think that is better than no training or no strength work at all. And it's just, for me, it just comes back down to the fact about how you do the exercises is so important. And I mean, at Coach Perry, that's what we do. We run 7 live classes a week where the coaches are there watching you, making sure your technique is right. And if you're going to improve that on the person who's just doing it by following, I don't know, or just doing their own thing, that's definitely an added bonus as well. So definitely, I think continue to do it. If that is what you're doing, don't stop doing it, but add in some resistance training as well. So yeah, that's it. I think you covered all of that perfectly. I'm not going to add much more onto that. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, that is it for this week, guys. Thank you so much, team, for listening. As always, pop some comments down into the comment section. Let us know if you're enjoying these. We're really enjoying these questions coming in from the listeners as well. Nicky, thank you so much for your time.
Yep, and do post some questions down below as well. That was always good too. We'll pick those up from there too. So, thank you very much, Shona. That was great. And we'll see you on the next pod.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.